School Board of Education, and we are meeting at the Provo City District offices at 280 West, 940 North in Provo, Utah, and we're going to begin with a roll call, and let's go ahead and start with Devin.
Devin Daly, Business Administrator.
Lisa Boyce, Board Member.
Terry McCabe, Board Member.
Gina Hales, Board Member.
Jennifer Partridge, Board Vice President.
Wendy Dow, Superintendent.
Meg Van Wagenen, Board Member.
Emily Harrison, Board Member. Melanie Hall, Board Member.
Monica Tuones, Student Board Member.
Hutch Fallis, Student Board Member.
Okay, thank you. And we want to welcome all those who are here in attendance with us tonight. Do we have a motion to start our business meeting?
I move that we start our business meeting.
Motion made by Board Member Boyce. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Board Member Hall, and we are in our business meeting. Thank you. All right, we are going to begin with the Pledge of Allegiance, and that will be led tonight by our Assistant Superintendent, Daryl Jensen.
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Daryl. All right. Tonight is our first board meeting after an election year, and as part of that is the time that we elect, or first of all, we give the oath of office to all of our new board members, including any who have been re-elected. I thought that this was going to be someone else's job, but then I was told that this is my job to get to administer the oath of office. So I am actually going to go down to the podium because I think it's kind of weird for me to sit here and do that. But we're going to have our new board member and our two re-elected, as well as Devin and Wendy are also going to take the oath. So you guys can go ahead and stand. All right, if you will please raise your right hands and repeat after me. I do solemnly swear or affirm
I do solemnly swear or affirm
that I will support, obey, and defend
that I will support, obey, and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Utah,
and the Constitution of the State of Utah,
and that I will discharge the duties
and I will discharge the duties
of my office with fidelity.
of my office with fidelity.
Thank you. You guys are sworn in. Congratulations. That's good. And now I'm going to turn it over to Devin Daly, our business administrator, who will do the process of our board leadership nominations.
Hopefully I do this right. I would like to open nominations for the board president. So
I make a motion to nominate Jennifer Partridge as president.
I second.
So seeing all in favor, yes, thank you.
Aye.
Yeah,
Do we all vote? Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, so congratulations, Jennifer. You are the new board president of the Provo City School District Board, and I will turn the time over to you to do the next part.
Okay. Thank you, Devin. And thank you, everybody, for that. I appreciate your confidence in me. Thank you. Okay, and so now I will take nominations for our board of vice president.
I nominate Gina Hales.
Okay. Nominated by Board Member McCabe. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Board Member Van Wagenen. Any discussion on that?
Are you sure?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? And that was unanimous. Welcome, Gina.
Thanks.
Oh, let's clap for that.
Okay. Thank you very much. So now we are going to the community connections part of our program tonight, or of our agenda. And we will turn it over to Deputy Superintendent Jason Cox for Provo Way Awards.
Good evening, school board. Congratulations on that work that you just did, and we're so happy to have each of you as a part of the board. You do amazing work. We have some wonderful people to recognize tonight, some great employees, and so I'll get started with that. I just want to explain a little bit of the process. So I'm going to read off the people who we are recognizing tonight. After that, we'll give them a round of applause. We do have a video that we'll watch. And once we're finished with the video, we want to give the employees who are being recognized the opportunity to be thanked personally by the school board. So we'll ask them to come up and start over here and work their way across the school board, allowing the school board members and others to just thank them for the work that they do. So the people that we're recognizing tonight, we have Kristen, and please stand when I call your name if you're here. Kristen Sorensen from Centennial Middle School. Heather Carnes from Timpview. Justin Golightly from Shoreline Middle School. Debbie Larson from Amelia Earhart Elementary. And Hannah Whitmer from Amelia Earhart Elementary. Let's give them one more round of applause. You can go ahead and be seated. We'll watch the video, and then afterwards we'll have you start right over here.
He is very passionate about this job. Like, he would dig a hole through the earth for these kids. He really cares about these kids and meeting them at their level. We share a lot of students, and a lot of the students we share, they struggle, especially with English. And Justin figures out really creative ways to help them connect with English and feel successful with what they're doing. He just cares about these kids.
So I nominated Debbie because she is an excellent colleague to work with. She's worked at Amelia for so long and is just that yes person that everybody goes to and says, can you do this? And she does it. I can't say enough about Debbie. She's been a great mentor to me. We're very lucky to have her, and I hope she knows how much value she brings to Amelia Earhart.
Miss Whitmer has an incredible instructor mentality work ethic, and her skills with teaching are proof of how dedicated she is to the students in the behavioral unit. Hannah is compassionate, dedicated, has a heart of gold, is extremely caring, and works hard to ensure the students she works with progress with their education and behaviors. Hannah teaches the students the importance of making good choices, being respectful, and kind to others. Miss Whitmer has such an impact on students for the better, and she is absolutely motivated and dedicated.
Heather is the first to volunteer when someone needs help and one of the most reliable individuals to know. Most tasks and time she spends supporting students goes unnoticed, and she does not seek out the praise, but she deserves to be recognized for all she does. She is often one of the first educators in the school and one of the last to leave. Heather balances meetings, planning, prepping, and working with current students and students she has had in the past to help them succeed. Heather Carnes is not just a teacher. She is an educator, a mom, a wife, a community member, and actively instilling hope and safety in the individuals who meet her. Thank you for all you do. You deserve the best.
Kristen is an absolutely outstanding educator. I have come to really admire her work ethic and her attention to detail. She really uses her love for the students to motivate her to provide an exceptional experience for the students. I've noticed that she works a lot after hours and puts in a lot of extra work and overtime that is not asked of her, so that students can really remember what she teaches them. And this is my first year teaching. I've really come to admire her as the kind of educator I want to be, and she has a passion for teaching that is really contagious.
Again, what a wonderful group. We'd love to ask you now to come up and start on this end and let our school board members thank you personally. So those of you that were standing, come on, I saw several of you. Don't be shy. Come on up.
Oh, here you go. Oh, you know what?
I won't shake. Wait. Well, thank you for all that you do. Hi. Thank you.
Hi.
Everybody's going through it. Congratulations. I won't shake your hand. Congratulations.
That video was so cute of you. Congratulations. Oh, yeah. Wow, did you get a candy? Cool, huh?
Bye, Thomas.
Bye, Thomas.
Your husband's totally trying to get him to go the other way, and you're like, come here.
Oh, cute.
Let's give these amazing educators one more round of applause. Always best part of the meeting. Okay, before we move on to our school report, after the school report will be time for public comment. So if there is anyone here to give public comment, we have forms over here on the side by this whiteboard here. You can come pick up a form now and start filling it out. And then you will turn it into Bonnie, our secretary over here, and then you'll be in the line for the public comment. So, okay. Now it's time for a school report from our Slate Mountain campuses. And so we're going to turn it over to the assistant principals, Melanie Bliss and Robert Bunker. Welcome.
All right. Good evening. I'm Robert Bunker. I'm one of the administrators at Slate Mountain School. You go ahead. The primary site that I am over is Oak Springs and Vantage Point. So as you can see, the Slate Mountain School encompasses several different sites, 3 to be exact. And we encompass all of the youth in custody students that we have in Provo School District. This includes Oak Springs, which is housed in the Utah State Hospital, Vantage Point, which is housed in the Wasatch Behavioral site over by Seven Peaks, or I forget what it's called now, sorry. And Slate Canyon, that is in the Slate Canyon Center. We have a unique and challenging population of students. Consequently, in crafting our mission statement, we wanted to acknowledge the challenges faced by our students, as well as our commitment to helping our students feel valued and to recognize their potential for learning and growth.
I'm Melanie Bliss. I'm the other Slate Mountain School administrator with a primary focus on the Slate Canyon site. The 2023-24 school year, last school year, was our first year as dual administrators for Slate Mountain School, and it was a busy year. We had the challenge of completing the accreditation process, and not unlike school board presentations, we were assured by other seasoned administrators that there's not really any way to fail about this. So, but when you're in the midst of it, you don't always feel that calm about it. But we also had our triennial Board of Education, Utah Board of Education and Youth in Custody review in the spring of last year. And elevated blood pressures aside, they were right. We made it through successfully, and actually found that both of these processes were a really good chance for us to metaphorically open all the cupboards and look under the furniture and really kind of create a plan for what we wanted our school to look like and to be able to make a school improvement plan. One of the things that we can say with full confidence is that we really care. All of the people in our schools really, the students that we work with really matter to us. We really care about doing a good job. And of course, all educators should care about their students. But when you have a school that operates within a facility where education is not always the primary focus, it can be difficult to keep any focus on the importance of academic learning and growth. I don't want to use the word fight, but we do need to regularly crusade for our educational space and our time and our place within these programs. And of course, it's always to our benefit to keep a positive relationship with our stakeholders. It really matters that we have a good relationship, that Robert, especially with the state hospital, with Wasatch Behavioral Health, it matters that we do a good job with JJS and become partners with them, because anything that we do helps them look good. I always think of it as the Jerry Maguire approach: help me, help you, help me, help you, let me help you, help you.
As part of the accreditation process, and as new administrators, one of our challenges was to create a school improvement plan. As you know, generally in a school improvement plan, there's a lot of data relating to student achievement, graduation rates, and stakeholder engagement from families of the students. Luckily, for us, we have several administrators of the district who began their careers in alternative education, so we can lean on them quite heavily. And that means they understand. While we can have a robust goals, they sometimes need to have their own character and focus. Right one, okay. Last school year, Superintendent Dow started making the PLC professional learning community a focal point for the district. Since our educators are often a department unto themselves, the PLCs at our sites may not mirror entirely what may be happening at other schools. But our goals in collaboration between educators in collecting meaningful data do remain the same. Nope, that one, sorry. One area we are working on is building a stronger overall Slate Mountain School team. It's a new idea for many of our team members to consider what have been very separate sites in the past. This effort has included sharing secretarial and registrar duties between sites, counseling duties between sites, and beginning to have some employees split their workday between Slate Mountain sites, depending on the need in various programs. This also allows us to have more ability to get credits, yeah, so for all of our students.
At all of our sites, as part of our role to report to our stakeholders, we have to report to the CFTM's child and family team meetings. Not as many parent-teacher conferences, but we have regular reports that we give to our stakeholders. And as part of that, we've always been in the process of collecting data. It's a very regular thing for us to do, to collect these engagement scores. But we've used this data for stakeholder reports, but with the district focus on PLCs, we're also looking for opportunities for our teachers to use this data in our collaborative PLC effort. So how can we expand on that? Particularly in regard to PBIS, positive behavior interventions and supports. All of our facility partners use dialectical behavior therapy. I don't know if you guys have heard of that before, DBT. With the residents. And so this year we're trying to have our inter-site professional development PLCs be about becoming familiar with this. We have trainings with some of the psychiatrists at the state hospital, and using that as our collaborative effort and language that we use, so that we're using the same language that the kids are using in their own therapies that they're using every day, and then we're able to tie that into school behavior as well. And we have to become familiar with that, to know what mindfulness is, to know what stop skills are, to know what tip skills are, to know what opposite action is when you're sitting in math class and you feel like not doing this math class. Not that I struggled with math, but I am a social studies teacher, so there is that. One bit of feedback, new slide. One bit of feedback we received from our accreditation team is that we needed a better system to show ways that content is being mastered in our classrooms. Standardized assessment utilized by other schools are challenging for us because we have such a transient population. Students come and go depending on their treatment goals, depending on their adjudicated guidelines. They're not at the rhythms of the semester or the term. So anytime that we're trying to do testing that measures growth, it's really tricky for us. So we're trying to challenge our teachers to show how they measure growth and learning in their individual classrooms and using the PLC process and data to support that goal. And Robert and I will both talk about that a little bit more when we talk about our individual sites. USB YIC also requires that we use a STAR 360 test. That's what the measure that they want to use, and they're fine. It's a fine test. But we have a hard time getting our kids to take any kind of testing seriously. They do not see the need for this, the measurement. They're not engaged in taking tests. And seriously, it's a problem. Anytime you get YSC educators together, they're always going to talk about testing efficacy and how tricky it is to get kids to take them seriously. So we're trying to embed it into our classes, not necessarily tie it to a grade, but just tie it into the process of what these kids are learning at any given time. And I'd love to tell you how that's going, but maybe I'll talk about that at the next time we do a board presentation. I'll get right back to you on that. We'd like to take a few minutes now for us to talk about our sites individually.
So Oak Springs School, it's comprised of 3 separate units, the Maple unit, the Birch unit, and the Cedar unit. All 3 have a capacity of 24 beds. Current occupancy in the Maple unit is 8. Birch unit would be 13 and Cedar unit of 15. And the average length of stay is 12 to 18 months for each student. Our mobility is about 20 and minus 26. So every year we get a new batch very frequently. So almost every 6 months where we're going through the students, which kind of makes it hard to get the credits that they deserve. Oak Springs currently has 73% special education, and that number is rising. And most of the kids come in, we have about 15% of them coming in with an IEP. So our special ed team leader is very busy. Things we're proud of. We're really proud of our maker class. This year is the first year that we started this where the teacher comes back from 5 to 7 to teach the high school kids this maker class, and he teaches 3D printing, laser etching, drones, a really cool class that the kids are very happy to be a part of. They're willing to give up their afternoon or evenings to come back to school for that class. Greenhouse is another one that we're really proud of every year. If you see poinsettias around, we're lucky to be able to be the ones to provide those. The kids really love the fact that I come pick them up and tell them where they're going. So we're happy about our PBIS programs with DBT. Like Melanie said, that we have in the hospital, we have 2 psychologists coming teaching us this year, very in depth about that. Our library serves all 3 sites. Our librarian, we were really lucky to get a librarian that's been in the district for a long time, and I keep telling her that she can't leave. And another one we're really proud of is we have 2 graduates already this year for 2024, so we're really excited about that. Fun student incentives. Our faculty is really good about getting dressed up for the fun things that we do. That was a Halloween thing. A lot of field trips that we are able to let the kids go on. Here's a 3D printer thing of the dragon and some more PBIS programs. Challenges. So tackling significant learning gaps, mental health challenges, and limited classroom time impacting student outcomes. I'm working to overcome our resource limitations in areas of staffing. Limited staffing and specialized expertise compared to a high school and a middle school really can be a disadvantage for our students. Ensuring equitable access and support for all students, maintaining motivation and focus for students, expanding community engagement and collaboration partners, implementation of programs, technology, and teaching, and preparing students for successful reintegration into their own communities. Action items and next steps for us is build on current strengths and faculty capacities, confront the facts and persist with improvement efforts, improve Tier 1 instruction and differentiate for struggling learners, and build a network of hospital-based schools as learning partners. Focus on continued professional development for teachers.
All right, this is just a little worksheet I put together for the teachers to talk about what we do at our PLCs each week. The red part up there on that side kind of talks about the folding our DBT into PBIS, because a new thing that we talked about in November at the principal meetings was kind of providing PBIS incentives for students. We have a tradition of doing awards at the end of the term. We've been doing that for quite a long time, but we don't, and we use our daily scores for what students are able to do as far as extracurricular activities that we'll talk about. But I'm asking the teachers to kind of come up with whatever their incentives are for their class. What is it, weekly or biweekly? What are they working towards? Maybe dropping the lowest test score, maybe game time in gap class, maybe, I don't know, whatever they can come up with, right? I can come up with lots of ideas for them, but I'd like them to come up with what some of those are. And sometimes with our awards, what we do at the end of term, I like awards that the students can see a pathway to and that they can measure and earn themselves. It's not a bad idea to have a subjective award. I've often thought about having the Who Annoys Melanie the Least award. Maybe you should think about that. If you want to steal that thing, you can, that'd be cool. But it's also not something that, is easily measured. So we'd like to be able to make sure that they can, see a pathway to get to where they're going. That's going to be kind of a focus that we're working on right now. This next section, I want to talk about changes that are happening, challenges that we have, and things that we're going to try to do with our juvenile justice reform that are happening with that, and with our mix of graduate and postgraduates that we're getting. I need to tell you a story about what we're looking at here. The top pictures up there, that's our gym with our mural that's in the gym up there. Our PE teacher, Ted Ballin, he's created a really good program that's got a lot of personal incentive for these kids. The principal before me put the PE teacher in there. I'm in the credit business, and I care a lot about the kind of credit that they get. And I was thinking, oh, we really need, somebody who's going to get PE credit. There's so many other ways to get that when we need to get social studies credit and math credit and science credit. But I really like the way that this turned out. It's really given an incentive to the kids for personal growth, for teamwork, for cooperation, for motivation. So I've been really glad that I didn't know that I'd feel this way, but I've been really glad that we have it. And but Ted had to work for a while to try to figure out what kind of program is going to be good for our school. I wanted to show you what he uses. Those are all Bulgarian bags. I don't know if you're into the weightlifting, but those are what those are, because we can't use barbells. There used to be barbells down in the units. It wasn't our stuff. And who could have predicted that a large metal pole or a giant metal weight could possibly be a security risk? Who knew that that was going to be a thing? So he's come up with Bulgarian bags, and they have gotten really used to being able to use those. But it's kind of cumbersome, right? We have to buy the sand and then spread the sand and dry the sand, because you can't put damp sand into a Bulgarian bag. So it's a little more effort and work to try to get this program together, and it's worth it in the long run, but it does take us a little more time. I want to talk about these windows. I really like them. I think they're really pretty, and they turned out really well. We just got them done a little while ago, but they bother me so much because it's kind of a long story to get to this. When I very first started at Slate Canyon, they had vertical blinds, which are fine, right? But they tend to, I don't know if you've ever had vertical blinds, they fall out, right? And there's poles and strings. So sure enough, security comes around and says, yeah, we can't be having those. Well, that's fine with me. I didn't like them anyway. But the problem with the windows is that they have to be covered. The teachers want them covered because glare on the windows, right? You don't want to have glare on your screen. There's nothing worse than trying to show something on the screen that nobody can see because there's a lot of sunlight coming through the windows. But also because if you'll see on the bottom, it's really important at Slate that they don't see each other cross. You don't want to have short-term kids seeing long-term kids, because it might be a partner in crime, or it might be a rival gang, or it might be your boyfriend or girlfriend that's they're just across the yard, any of the things that can happen with that. So they can't be just blank windows. So using the power of Pinterest, after they took away our vertical blinds, we came up with the idea of getting some really colorful fabric and sewing magnets into the corners. And it worked really well. We glued them in and sewed them in, and it's a lot of work to sew magnets. If you've ever tried that, it's not an easy thing. And they worked really well. We stuck them up there. We could slide them up. We could slide them down. We could see the sky if we needed to, but it did what we needed to do. And they worked really well for about, six-ish years. We've had them up there. So fine, just working really well, also kind of insulated because it can be kind of cold in there sometimes. And then about maybe a year ago, maybe not quite that long ago, somebody at a juvenile justice facility, not ours, but somewhere in the state of Utah, somebody ate a magnet, which is not a good thing to do. So now we get a mandate that comes from the state juvenile justice says no more magnets in the classroom. Now, we don't have other magnets on the board. We don't use push pins. We don't use not safety pins. We don't use those either, but you know, the little paper clips. There we go. We use paper clips. We have to use special pencils. There's all sorts of special things we have to do, and we feel like we're being really careful with the classrooms. But they want to take our magnet curtains away because I defy them to get those magnets out of the corner. By gosh, they couldn't do it. It would take a while, but here we are. That's what we have to do something about. So they're going to take we have to figure out what we're going to do with our curtains. And I tried several incarnations of what I thought would work and would stay. Would Velcro be on there? Sometimes they get cold and the adhesive comes off. We tried a few things. So we finally ended up going with the vinyl. I know it looks like it's clear on the top, but it's actually kind of a shaded thing, so you can see outside. You have to be about 6'7" to be able to see actually outside, so good luck with that. If they can, then they deserve to see it out there. But usually it keeps them from being able to do that. So I like them, and I think they're pretty, and I like the way they turned out. But we were fine before. But sometimes we have to change, even though we were fine before and we didn't like to have to do that. And that's just kind of the where we live. I also wanted to point out that if you noticed in all of these chairs and tables, we have wheels on them because coming up with mobile classrooms is really important to us. We need to be able to use them for lots of different things. This one over here on this side is our largest multi-use space that we have. You can see that there's an accordion door in the middle, so we can turn it into 2 classrooms. It's the class we use for music on Saturdays. It's the class we use for most of our graduations we hold in there if it's a smaller graduation. We also have any kind of evening activity most of the time happens in that classroom. And last year, because of different conflicts that were happening between units and numbers that we had last semester, we had to change the configuration of seating in that room 3 times throughout the day, depending on who was coming into the room. So being able to move things around is really important. I've always joked with the kids that if there is such a thing as a purgatory, it will be me moving tables and stacking chairs, moving tables and stacking chairs, moving tables and stacking chairs. So I've really appreciated the fact that these nest together and roll around. Next slide. So that brings me kind of to our capacity that we have in our facility right now. We have short-term detention and we have long-term secure care. Short-term detention is going to be an average of 10-day stays, sometimes less, sometimes only a couple of days, sometimes longer, depending on if a student is waiting for a placement, or sometimes their court case is going through, taking a while to go through the system. And so they may be there for a while, but even if you might be there for a few months, you're not long-term until the judge adjudicates and says, you've now been sentenced to long-term secure care. So that happens sometimes, but that's kind of the difference between those two. But hopefully you guys are familiar with juvenile justice reform because it's something that has impacted all of the districts, not just YIC schools. In 2018, 2019, there was juvenile justice reform that changed the reason that students would come to a detention center. We had as many as 1,200 students come through before, and we had 3 short-term units. Before, up until about 2 years ago, we had 3 of them that would come through. Last year, we had about 400 students. So it changed things very quickly for short-term detention as far as which kids came through. Now it's kind of on the front end, they'll have home detention. The schools kind of had to deal with a lot of what that was going to look like as far as truancy go. Judges had to deal with it. I think of it as kind of the ultimate example of cart before the horse. They had that law that came down. Everybody was scrambling to try to figure out how to deal with that. There's a lot of that happens in juvenile justice, cart before the horse. We'll talk about just a bit more. For as long as I've been there, since the facility opened, we've had 2 long-term units, Horizon and Summit. And those are kids that have done a more serious thing or have a long series of being locked up and are going to be there for a while. But juvenile justice reform also switched up the guidelines for how long they're going to be there. It was very unusual for us to have a 3 to 6 month guideline with a student. You can hang by your thumbs for 3 months. It's really hard to affect any change with a student in 3 months. But there we are. That's some of the students that we have. The average is still about 9 months, but the biggest change for us is this extended guideline, these serious offenders that we're going to have until they're 25 years old. Now, some of that is a dual sentence as well. So there might be a student that comes in at 16 or 17 and stays until they're 21 or 22, depending on how how well they do with their rehabilitation while they're in the juvenile justice system. And then they might not have to stay till they're 25, and they might not have to go to this adult system. But if you have something that's quite serious that has happened, they'll stay with us until they're 25 years old, and then they might go move on to the adult system as well. And that's a really small universe. I don't know if you guys have ever been to Slate Canyon, but it's a very small universe to live in for that much time, between 16 and 25 years old. And we do have a couple right now that are kind of in that population. So what that leaves us with are students that population has expanded quite a bit. We graduate the students, and then they don't go anywhere. They stay there. And we have to try to figure out what we're going to do with them, because we are all in the same boat. As much as we want to say, thank you for your service, you've graduated, please go sit over there. Now, that's not what happens. We have to move everybody together. We serve at the pleasure of the staff. We can't do anything without staff. I can't go and get 5 kids and say, okay, we're going to work on this now. If the staff isn't there to help me out with them, then they're not coming, right? And the ratios will change. It used to be 8 students to 1 adult. Right now it's 5 students to 1 adult. So every time that changes, it shifts what we're able to do, how we schedule our classes, and how many people we can have and what things we can do. So that's one of our challenges. Some of the things that we do to try to incorporate pre and post graduates, right? We have graduations, clearly. And usually we do them one at a time. As the kid gets graduated, sometimes we have more than one. We just had a single graduation over the Christmas break. His family came, and it was kind of a nice little time. But our graduation rates, we have a hard time saying this is our graduation rate. This is what it's going to be, because it depends on who comes to us. Depends on what seniors they are, how many credits they have. We're never quite sure what that's going to look like. As I mentioned, we have Saturday morning music classes from 8 till about 11:30, 11:45. And we do piano, guitar, and percussion and vocals when we're lucky. And we do some programs 3 times a year, depending on how the musicians get together, depending on how we're doing. We get together and have these programs. Our last one was on December 10th. If you ever get a chance to come over and see one, we're terrible, but in such a great way. So it's worth seeing, I think. We also have a wood turning class that we've done for quite a long time. We used to do it just during breaks, like spring break or Christmas break. And now that we've have a more permanent space, which I'll talk about in a minute, because we used to use our multi-use classroom and just drape it off. Now we have something that's a place that we can do a little bit more permanently. We do it on Monday evenings, and some of the kids have made lots of fun things. And that's kind of an incentive program. They have to be at a certain level on their units. They have to be at a certain level with schoolwork. And our garden project that we did this summer is one of my favorite things that we've done. It was this is one of those things that, we had a bike class for a good long while, about 7 or 8 years, where we had a partnership with the Provo Bicycle Collective. And we came in and they did a class for us twice a week. We did it on Wednesday afternoons and Saturday afternoons. And it was a great thing for a lot of reasons. We got credit for the high school kids. We got restitution. You guys understand what I mean by restitution, things that they have to give back to the community, because they're fixing bicycles that are going to elementary school students or refugees or just back to the community in general. And we were able to kind of show that, hey, we can do the CT thing. We were trying to do CTE in a small way that we could in the space that we had. We stopped doing it when they remodeled the facility because we lost our storage space. We didn't have any place to keep the bikes or the tools. We ended up giving them to Independence, and I think they've made some good use from them. But we also have an EPD, the leader of the head of the facility, that wasn't there when we were doing all that. And as all of these things are changing, we're trying to consider what it is that we're going to do in the future. I kind of want to show him, hey, we do know what we're doing. We know how to do this. We can have a bike class with giant pedal wrenches that nobody's getting one on a hit to the head. We can be really careful. We can be really deliberate about how our security that we have for our wood turning class and the security that we have for any of the tools that we use. The garden project has been something that the facility has wanted to do for a good long while. And I've sort of just been keeping my mouth shut about it, because once we take something on, we own it, right? And we got to make sure that if we're going to take it on, that we have the time to own it. And this kind of felt like a good time to set forward. Plus, we have a greenhouse now, and we hadn't had that really connection before. So we did it in June. Got myself a big to do with the carpentry. I was really just the planter of things, but I'm surely like, yeah, boy, the fish was this big. I don't know. Anyway, it was a really good few days. It took us about 2 weeks off and on. Again, we had to have a staff. And we brought the saws in, and the guys were measuring, cutting, and drilling, and doing all those manly tool things that they like to do. And they're just so hungry for it. They just want something to do to keep them occupied. So even though it was hot, and I didn't look all that good in that hat, it was a really good experience, and I was really glad to be able to do that. And we were able to show the APD, look, we can accomplish this. We know how to get this done. And like to paraphrase Hamilton's, educators get the job done. High five, right? We know how to do this. This was a page I put together when we were having a discussion about what do we do with those post-secondary things. Our little icon over there, we are all in the same boat. Those kids are going to be with us, and we have to deal with them, whether or not they're in high school or whether they're not in high school. And this is such a cart before the horse idea. They built us a new shop space, which is great. It's a very nice auto shop. It's got a nice second room that we can use for wood shop. There's a lot of good things happening with this. The question that we have, though, who's in charge of building these programs? Is it education or juvenile justice? Juvenile justice has had a couple of years to take a crack at it and hadn't had anything that really sticks. In my opinion, education does this better. Is going to be doing it better than juvenile justice. In all of my experience, I think that's just going to be the case. But we kind of were like, all right, let's see what happens. The other challenge that we have right now is we can serve, the USBUISD says we can serve students till they're 23-year-olds, but they're obviously keeping students until they're 25 years old. We don't have any 25-year-olds right now. We have 18, 19, 20, 21-year-olds. So we have a few years worth of work to do with these guys before hopefully they'll figure out what's going to happen with those 25-year-olds. So I'm going to place my thoughts elsewhere on that. It's kind of out there, but there's nothing I can do about that right now. But we also want to move forward and have a plan for this. We do have some college happening with these guys. It is through the Dixie State. It's a legislative mandate that Utah Tech, used to be Dixie State. And it's an evolving program. We don't provide the curriculum for them, but we do provide the technology. We schedule them. We decide who is going to be a good fit for them. We provide the mentorship and the organizational skills and tutoring because dropping these guys into a college class, they just don't have a lot of experience for it, so they need as much help as that we can give them for that. So that's how we kind of support that program. There's a lot of questions that come up about mainstream college courses. There's so much online college. There's hardly anybody that hasn't done an online class, but the problem is that you have a lot of open internet access for those kinds of things, and that's a problem that I can't parse, right? I can't let them be like, all right, you go ahead and research and have an email conversation with who knows who. That's a question for USBE and juvenile justice as well. And then the question always comes up, what about technical trainings? We have this CTE site. We have this auto shop. We need to be able to use it, right? And the question that we've been asking ourselves, Travis, the administrator before us, and as we've been kind of evolving this year, is who should be in charge of that? We have proven that we can do CTE things, albeit for sure on a smaller scale. But we can do this, and certainly Provo School District knows how to build CTE programs. So we are feeling confident that we're going to move forward with this. In term 4, so we've kind of come up with a plan, and it's going to be smaller and hopefully ever evolving, that we are going to try to incorporate a day where all of the students from pre and postgraduates are going to be involved in something important all day long. So we've got academic happening in the morning, college classes for the postgraduates, and then we're going to be doing an auto shop in the afternoon that's going to be offering credit, obviously, high school credit for the students, but also certifications. We have some partnerships with some businesses. So for example, if we can get Big O Tire does training for their employees, and if we can teach the content, the Big O Tire will come in and do the testing for them and give them a certification that says you have trained on Big O Tire content and you can get a job when you leave, because that's exactly what juvenile justice is looking for. Same thing with, it's not Jiffy Lube, but now I can't remember the name of it. It's another oil changing chain. Same idea. And then we'll move on to General Service 1. Our teacher that's going to be doing this is getting certified on auto service experts. He's quite a good mechanic. In talking to mechanics, they care less about if you are certified on these things and if you can actually do that, but we also need to have something that we can present to juvenile justice that says, boom, certification, boom, here's a job skill that we're going to try to get with. So we're also working on some restitution shop ideas. We're going to have these young men, and I'd like to put these young men to work. So we have 13 new lathe tables for our wood shop. I do not want to put them together, but you look like you want to have a wrench in your hand, so let's go and put these together. And so they'll get to be able to have some time for that and restitution. But again, it's about coordinating with staff to be able to have time for that and when we put that together. And then we're going to be doing a general career exploration course that's going to include most of the CTE that we've been doing for the last year or so has been, well, a couple of years, has been just a career exploration course on Edgenuity, which is fine. But we're going to try to broaden that curriculum by using UScience. USB likes us to use UScience, which is a good website to do personality tests and explore what you're interested in and try to kind of find those elements. So we're building a curriculum around that. Our transition, our ETCA, our transition specialist, is a certified CTE teacher, so she's kind of helping us build that together. And we're also going to incorporate some virtual reality through a company called Transfer. Been working with JP a lot. JP is such a good guy. He's so tired of me, but he's so nice to be able to work with us on seeing if we can get that to work through our filters. We have quite tight filters there. And I'm excited about what that can look like for these guys. And the other thing we'll have is an expanded virtual reality. We're going to see if this works with the cheaper software at first. And then there are some more expensive content that we might be able to use a little bit later on for some of these guys because Transfer does industry certifications through virtual reality for a lot of different areas, from auto mechanics to airplane mechanics to electronics to cooking. And there's some of these guys that are never going to be able to get a wrench in their hands. They're just not going to allow them to happen depending on what they are doing. So to be able to have something else that they're doing is going to be an exciting thing for them, I think. Clearly, I can talk about this all the livelong day, but I will stop now. We're excited about the challenges, and we care about creating a positive culture for our students. We're committed to continually improving, and we have some pens freshly off the lathe for you guys yesterday.
Oh,
it's not a fancy Disney pen. You're right, this time we made Wendy a fancy purple Disney-esque pen, but they are a little bit more organic, so I will just pass this around. You guys can pick which one you like. They still smell a little like polish because we just made them last night. Robert, anything else to add? I want to thank you for the opportunity to talk about our schools. Make sure you want to ask me back because I always have a lot to say. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Melanie and Jeremy. Does the board, anyone on the board have questions for Melanie and Jeremy? Or anything?
I guess I just have a question about, you were talking about how many of your students, it was like 75% of them have special education needs, but only 15% of them come in with IEPs, a large percentage of which we are not in compliance on those anyway, right?
Yeah.
So are you trying to then develop the IEPs for the rest of those students that get identified as having those needs?
Yeah.
Wow, okay.
That's a lot of work.
Yeah, thank you.
Any other questions or comments?
Well, I just wanted to say, until you've been up to their campuses, you just don't realize how many challenges you guys are trying to overcome, but how persistent you are in creating really great experiences for our students. We thank you for the work that you're doing. It's phenomenal work, and it's hard work.
Yes, thank you so much.
Seriously, thank
and
you
these
so
pens are
much.
beautiful. Wow. Tell those students, great job. Thank you. All right. Thank you very much. We are now at our public input portion of our meeting. Have we received any? Okay. Seeing no public input, we will go ahead and move on to our business items. And wow, we're going to have lots of fun tonight with this. So we're going to start with item number 1, our board meeting schedule. Wendy, should I explain? Do you want me to introduce this?
The board meeting schedule?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, I'll go ahead and introduce it. Okay, so we did talk about this in our study session, but every year we just need to approve our calendar of when our board meetings will be throughout the year.
Jennifer, do
Yes.
we need to go back and talk about the consent calendar? Didn't we?
We are going to do that when we get to the consent calendar approval later. Thank you for reminding me, though. Okay, so we did discuss it today, and we did move one date from what is drafted in here from September 26th to September 19th for our all-day meeting. So do we have a motion to approve the schedule?
I move that the 2025 PCSD Board of Education meeting schedule, oh, sorry, let me go back. I'm just reading this. I move that we approve the 2025 PCSD Board of Education meeting schedule as discussed in study session with the changes made.
Okay, thank you. Motion made by Board Member Van Wagenen. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Board Member Hall. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that motion passes unanimously. Thank you. We are now moving on to policies, and we'll begin with policy 3118, open enrollment.
So this open enrollment policy is just an update from the state, and we also added some definitions and just clarity around the language so that our process was clear, creating the right links so that students, parents who want their student to come to one of our schools that might not live within our boundaries have the ability to do so.
All right, thank you. Do we have a motion to approve policy 3118?
I move that we approve policy 3118, open enrollment, as discussed in the study session.
Okay, motion made by Board Member Boyce. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Board Member Van Wagenen. Any discussion? All right, seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, passes unanimously. Policy 3160, student residency.
This just verifies or clarifies some different language where students' parents might live outside of the state, but there are ways in which that student can be determined a resident, and it just goes through that process and what that looks like and clarifies that language.
Okay, do you have a motion to approve policy 3160?
I move that we approve policy 3160, student residency, as discussed in study session.
Okay, motion made by Vice President Hales. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Board Member Boyce. Any discussion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that passes unanimously. Item number 4, policy 4400, assessment and state testing.
So this policy adds a provision for students that are on the Utah Fits All scholarship for how they can participate in our state's testing process, and it just clarified some of the language and processes for opt-outs as well.
Okay, thank you. Do we have a motion to approve policy 4400?
I move that we approve policy 4400, assessment and state testing, as discussed in the study session.
Okay, motion made by Board Member Hall. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Board Member Van Wagenen. Any discussion? And just for the public's awareness, we discussed this all in our study session earlier tonight, so that's why we're pretty quiet right now. So, okay, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
And any opposed? Okay, that passes unanimously. Policy 4200, electronic device restrictions.
So while we already had this policy in place, we wanted to provide some clarification about smartwatches at each of the levels that had created some stress for some of our administrators. So we cleaned up that language that a student can wear their smartwatch, but they cannot receive or send notifications or phone calls at the elementary and middle school level all day, and at the high school level, not during class time.
Thank you. Okay, do we have a motion to approve policy 4200?
I move that we approve the updates to policy 4200, electronic device restrictions, as discussed in the study session.
Motion made by Board Member Boyce. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Vice President Hales. Any discussion?
Thank you for doing that.
Yes, appreciate the clarifications, so thank you. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that passes unanimously. Item number 6 is our large purchase request, an RFP for Provo High Elevate grant.
So this is to approve the grant for Innovative Ed, who is the chosen contractor to do the school improvement with the new grant that the Provo High has received.
Thank you. And this money is
This is grant money received
right
by
through,
the state,
right?
and this is
Yeah.
a required expense in the grant.
Okay, thank you. Do we have a motion to approve this large purchase request?
I move that we approve the large purchase request for Innovations Ed in the amount of $99,960 in conjunction with the Provo High Elevate grant, as discussed in the study session.
Motion made by Board Member Harrison. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
second by Board Member Van Wagenen. You guys are really testing me with your last names. Okay.
You're doing great.
Do we have any discussion? All right, let's go ahead and vote. All in favor with aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes unanimously. All right, large purchase request for our Timpview High School's CTE computer lab.
So this is to replace a lab full of computers for one of the CTE classrooms. It is 7 years old, so it is past time to replace, and we will use existing CTE carryover.
Okay. Do we have a motion to approve this large purchase request?
I move that we approve the large purchase request for the replacement of a CTE computer lab at THS in the amount of $50,505.
Okay, motion made by Board Member Hall. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Vice President Hales. Any discussion? All right, all in favor with aye?
Aye.
Any opposed with nay? That passes unanimously. And next we have a similar large purchase request of Provo High School's CTE computer lab.
So same thing, these computers are 7 years old and are ready to be replaced in the Provo High CTE computer lab.
Okay, do we have a motion?
I move that we approve the large purchase request for the Provo High CTE computer lab in the amount of $53,391.
Motion made by Board Member Boyce. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Board Member Van Wagenen. Any discussion? All right, all in favor with aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes unanimously. Next is our large purchase request for the Provo High School tennis court refinishing.
So this is just to do the refinishing of the tennis courts at Provo High. It is time for that refinishing to happen, and this is on its regular schedule.
Okay, thank you. Do we have a motion?
I move that we approve the large purchase request for the Provo High tennis court refinishing in the amount of $91,233.
Motion made by Board Member Van Wagenen. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Board Member Harrison. Any discussion? All in favor with aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes unanimously. And item number 10, our large purchase request for the Timpview High School tennis court refinishing.
So same thing, that we're going to be refinishing the Timpview High tennis courts. It's a little sooner than what is normal, but there's some damage to the courts that need to be fixed. So.
Okay, thank you. A motion on this large purchase request.
I move that we approve the large purchase request for the Timpview High tennis court refinishing in the amount of $81,688.
Motion made by Vice President Hales. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Board Member Hall. Any discussion? All right, all in favor with aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes unanimously. Item number 11, large purchase request for the Canyon Crest Kindergarten Playground.
So this is for the replacement for the kindergarten playground at Canyon Crest. The current playground is old and is not good for the amount of kids that are using it.
Okay, do we have a motion to approve this large purchase request?
I move that we approve the large purchase request for the Canyon Crest Kindergarten Playground in the amount of $58,840.
Motion made by Board Member Boyce. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Board Member Van Wagenen. Any discussion? All in favor with aye?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? That passes unanimously. And item number 12, our large purchase request for the Centennial Art and Pottery Cabinets.
So this is a replacement of the cabinets in 2 classrooms at Centennial Middle School. They are just in dire need of being replaced, and this is part of their budget for this year.
Okay. Do we have a motion to approve this large purchase request?
I move that we approve the large purchase request for the Centennial Middle School Art and Poetry This is clearly really challenging my reading skill. Let me start over. I move that we approve the large purchase request for the Centennial Middle School art and pottery cabinets in the amount of $68,100.
Borrow my glass.
Motion made by Board Member Van Wagenen. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Board Member Harrison. Any discussion?
I just want to say I'm grateful. I know this sounds like a lot of large purchases in a row, but I'm really grateful for the facilities committee and the people who've worked to get these on a regularly scheduled replacement cycle, so that we're keeping up on things and not waiting until we hit a crisis. So just thank you to the work everyone's done to bring this to us.
All right. All in favor with aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that passes unanimously. Item number 13, the calendar changes for 25 and 26. We were not ready to discuss this tonight, so do you have a motion to?
Table this item.
Thank you. Okay, motion made by Board Member McCabe. Do we have a second?
Oh, I'm in a second. That's exciting.
I've never done. Second by Board Member Boyce. Any discussion? All right, all in favor with aye?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? That passes unanimously. And item number 14, our Health Education Curriculum Review Committee.
This is just to vote on the members of this committee, which is required by state law to review health education curriculum and materials.
Okay, thank you. And do we have a motion to approve this?
I move that we approve the members of the Health Education Curriculum Review Committee as discussed in the study session.
Motion made by Board Member Boyce. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Board Member Van Wagenen. Any discussion? And all in favor with aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? And that passes unanimously. And good job, guys. 14 items. Way to go.
You're really good
All right.
at saying board member Boyce.
All right.
That's pretty impressive.
All right. Item number E, section E, is our consent calendar. We did not have the opportunity at the time in our study session for our review of this to ask questions, so we will now do that aspect of it. Does anyone have any questions on the consent calendar?
I do. I had a question about the audio enhancements. Which schools, this is a lot of money for one school, so I'm assuming.
That is the full Wasatch, so the audio, do I
for the
have?
new school?
My computer died.
Yeah, we got you.
So just a second.
Okay.
Do you need a charge?
So yes, the audio enhancement were the intercoms for, there were 2 schools, and then there was some other wiring and speakers. And it wasn't the ones we approved last month, it was the ones that were on this year's. No, the ones that we did just last month. Timpanogos and Lakeview intercom systems.
Okay,
So,
thank you.
yes.
Any other questions on the consent calendar? All right, do we have a motion to approve the consent calendar?
I move that we approve the items on the consent calendar.
Motion made by Board Member Hall. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Was that Meg?
That was me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Second by Board Member Van Wagenen. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And that passes unanimously. All right, and now comes to another one of our favorite parts of this meeting is our student board member report. So we'll invite our board members, Hutch and Monica, to come up.
This past week, we did not have our Student Advisory Council due to the USBA conference. That meeting has been moved to the first Wednesday of February and will be held at Provo High.
That's all, unless you guys have any questions.
Will you give us just a brief report about the conference and what you guys did there, as well as your overall experience? Keeping in mind that we also have the public watching who may not know about it.
Oh, yes. This past week, we had the Utah School Board Association Conference. Hutch and I had the opportunity to attend with Provo City School District. We also had the opportunity to present, and it was amazing. We got to do the entire presentation, make it, and conduct the entire thing. We also got to meet all of the other school board members in Utah, and I think it was a great experience. We also got to go to the breakout sessions, and it was just amazing to hear from everyone. So I think it was a great experience.
Same for me. I had a lot of fun presenting and a lot of fun just meeting a lot of new people, especially from the other districts. Like, I learned that there was a place called Paiute. Like, that was pretty awesome. Just learning new things and meeting new people, getting a chance to see all the prizes for the raffles was pretty awesome. Yeah, I didn't win, but
I won twice, so.
Sorry, Hutch.
Thank you, Lisa.
What were some of the questions that people asked you after your presentation? Like, what did they want to know? What did they talk to you about?
One of the questions I got asked after the presentation was whether I get a lot of hate for being on the board, especially with the new phone policy. And I told them, like, most of the time it's just people making jokes, but like those who are serious about it, like, if you talk to them, like, they come to the understanding. Like, especially with the cell phone policy, I was just like, if your phone went off in class, like, and you're in math, you're bored out of your mind, what's the chance of you pulling it out? And like, oh, it's pretty high. And I'm like, okay, there you go.
And then I got a few questions about the Student Advisory Council. I had a few people come up to me just interested about how Hutch and I make the agendas, and they thought it was super interesting. So I got a few people's emails, and they just asked to be sent our agendas and our presentation. So it's pretty exciting.
Awesome. Okay. Wonderful.
I just wanted to say I was very proud that how you guys represented Provo City School District.
Such a good job. It was amazing.
Standing room only in the room. That was awesome. So, congratulations. Thank you. We're happy to have you guys on our board.
Thank you.
All right. Item G, Business Administrator Report.
So I made mention of this in study session, but I want to really give a shout out to Chad's department and to Kyle's department, the maintenance and technology department, for all the help that they've been able to give to the Wasatch teachers and to the district as a whole in their move to Wasatch. So kudos to them. They've worked really hard, and a lot of people put their time into that. So thank you.
All right. And now we'll do our board member roundtable, where we just share different things from our committees that we want to do. So let's go ahead and start at Lisa's end. No, okay, we're going to start at Melanie's end.
Well, we just, like Monica and Hutch talked about, we just went to USBA, and I just wanted to say that it's one of the things I look forward to every year because it gets me energized and excited to be back on doing board things again. So that's really my report.
No report from me because I'm new. So
Welcome.
Welcome. We're so happy to have you. Okay. I'll just report quickly on policy committee. Often, if you watch the study session, you'll see the back work happens on policies and policy committee, and then we do our first and second readings in board meeting. And I think just what I want to share is just thank you to everyone who put so much work and time into these policies and crafting and getting them right. I am also, specifically grateful for all the work on the hazardous bus route as that came up as a concern, and all the work that Jared and Troy have done to kind of get that up and going. I just really appreciate that, and always grateful to see everybody collaborating and working together, and policy committee is a great place for that. And yeah, it's great. Actually, this isn't a committee. Go ahead. I said it in study session, but along with what Devin shared, I do just want to give a shout out to the Wasatch faculty, staff, Principal Snow. They really prepped months to be ready for their move this week, and I think it's really commendable how organized they were, and even down to they did online learning today, getting the report from Principal Snow, how well they organized that. And it wasn't just like watch this. They had teachers doing videos that the kids could watch. They really were so thoughtful about how to roll this out and how to make this happen. So when I was there today, I just felt very proud of their team, and they're all in our district staff too as well. So.
I keep missing all of my committee assignments for a variety of reasons. So one that I did not miss was student board members. We worked with them, and I appreciate Daryl's help, because whenever something needs to happen, I just tell Daryl. So thank you. They did a fantastic job presenting. I had so many people come up and say, like, people who were not in the session, but they were like, I've been told that I need to talk to you about your students and that we need them to come to the state capitol and talk to the legislators and make videos and do all of these things. So we were very well represented, and thank you. And it takes a lot of work, kind of like what Meg was saying. What we see here is just very, very small portion of all of the stuff that goes on behind the scenes. And so there's a lot of work that goes into all of this, the policies and the legislative committee and all of those things. And on the one hand, I'm relieved to not be on some of these big committees. And on the other hand, I think I'm going to miss it a little bit, because that's where you get to see what's happening and have some voice in that. But that's all I've got.
So we had LegCom today, and we're coordinating with PEA to keep track of all these bills. I want to encourage everyone to watch and participate in the House and Senate committee meetings. They start next Tuesday, January 21st. And then for safety, we didn't have safety committee this month, but they did have a class at USBA where Representative Wilcox, who's the sponsor of the safety bills, was there, and I was a little concerned that he does want to fund the bills now, but he wants to roll it into the WPU, which really means we're not going to get funded. So, Lisa.
Well, by going last, the committees I did attend have already been covered. But I do want to just put the word out for anyone interested in getting involved with our Invest Nest program, which is a student entrepreneur business. You come up with a business plan and pitch it, and students win like $10,000, and it's a really impressive thing that we do here in Provo. And so if you're interested in that, there's information online on the Provo CAPS website around their Invest Nest program and how you can get involved either as a student who has a business idea or as a mentor who would like to help students refine those business plans as they get ready to pitch those for their judges. It's always a really exciting thing that's coming up. And then the other thing is just anyone listening who would like to get involved in the Provo School District Foundation. We can always use your energy and your ideas and your money and ways you can support public education here in Provo City School District. So thanks.
Thank you. And I have a few reports as well. So I wanted to report on the Positive School Culture Committee. And we learned that we met last week on Tuesday and Thursday of that week, so it's now happened. Our PBIS coaches were going to some model PBIS schools up in Ogden, and they were literally spending all day. They had to be in Ogden at 7:30 in the morning and weren't getting home till dinner time. And they were going to go visit some elementaries and go through lots of different parts of the day to see how everything works with that. And they're getting ready to do the set, what is that, rubric?
The SAT survey.
Assessment, yes, with each of our schools, which we'll get results on later, and that'll be a baseline that the schools can use to move forward with that. We decided that as far as our kindness retreat, just kind of with some of the changes happening this year and everything, that this was not the right year to do it. But we are going to support the schools for the activities that they want to do in their schools and help celebrate with them and any training that they might want. And then we discussed just how to help set up our schools for success with the PBIS frameworks, making sure that they have the resources that they need and know what the expectations are for that. So things are going well with that committee. And then with the Utah School Board Association, about the Push Pause campaign that our association is doing with some of the other education entities. We're asking our legislators to please push pause on sending so many bills our way. And some of the data that we have on this is last year, out of all the bills, like not just education, but there were 591 bills passed in the 6-week session. That's up from 2 years before, it was 512. Bills recommended out of the Senate for education were 65, and out of the House were 69. So that's over 100 bills total for education that passed this last year. And most of those have had deadlines that have already happened. And so trying to implement 100 bills within less than a year is really burdensome, as we talk about a lot here. And the school board, the state school board, they had 62 new rules come through this last year. In the past 3 years, it's been 128 new rules. And new programs out of that office are 10. They've had to have 9 new reports, and LEAs, which is districts, we have 7 new reports just this year. And in the last 3 years, 26 new reports. And so when our community members wonder sometimes why we spend money on district administration, this is why. And we're finding with all the new ones coming, we're starting to ask, do we need more people to help us meet these requirements for the reporting? So it's a lot. So for those out in the public who are concerned, please help us and write your legislators and ask them to slow down on that. As well as our other concern is the increased funding for the Utah Fits All program. The Speaker of the House has said that they would like to put more money towards that. And it's a program that has no data and no accountability, and that's my very short assessment of that. And if you would like to help us in writing our legislators and asking them to instead give that money to education to meet the needs of the bills they are sending our way without funding those bills, that would be greatly appreciated. And you can email me and I can give you some more details on that of what you can say to your legislators. And with that, we will move on to item I with our superintendent's report.
So you can see we have several sports teams that are traveling as we're in winter sports and moving into spring sports. And then all of our CTSOs are going to start their state and competitions and then eventually national competitions.
Can you explain CTSO, please?
Yeah, that's a good, I don't know what it stands for. Career and Technical Specialty Organization. Student Organization, good job. Yeah, it stands for that. It's like our health occupation students, our future business leaders of America, all of those that are tied to our CTE programs all have region, state, and national competitions. So they're gearing up for all of that. So it gets to be a really busy time. I just wanted to thank all of our administrators and teachers for going with us on this cell phone journey. I know that there were several administrators that were concerned about how much time it was going to eat up, and just I feel like that we've had a lot of positive responses, and that teachers took the time. We had elementary teachers that were like walking their kids through what this looks like and why this needs to happen, and really explaining the rationale behind it, and a lot of parents being appreciative of it. So we'd love to continue to have your feedback about it so that we know if we need to make adjustments to it. And then last but not least, one of our largest federal programs that brings money into the school district is our Title I program. And we have to go through a pretty massive audit of not only are we following all of the protocols of the program and the intentions of the program, but there are a lot of restrictions on how that money can be used, and are we following all of those guidelines. And so thank you to Devin and her team for all of the financial side of this and making sure that we passed with flying colors, but also to Michelle Eldridge, who is over continuous school improvement, and her team for all of the work that they do to provide support to our Title I schools. They do a phenomenal job. That's it.
Okay. With that, we've come to the end of our agenda. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
I move that we adjourn.
Okay, move to adjourn, and they gave me this gavel, so I'm going to use it. I move that we are
Use it.
adjourned.
Yes.
Oh, that's so fun.
That made it feel so final.
Wow.